So, Queen Elizabeth, now set for her final journey back to London. It has begun. Her nation and family continue to grieve. Earlier today, King Charles joined mourners at St. Giles Cathedral in Edinburgh, Scotland, for a vigil and gave an address to Scottish Parliament. The new king is settling into his role as head of state, greeting the public in London. So what can we expect to see this week, and what is happening behind the scenes with the royal family? Joining me now to discuss, UK journalist, royal commentator, and our man on the scene, Jonathan Sacerdoti. Welcome to the show, sir.
Hi, Kennedy. How you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you doing? You have lost your queen. How are you responding, and how is your country feeling?
Well, there's really a somber mood across the country, I have to say. And I can say, speaking personally, like many people, I think I was more emotionally moved than I expected to be, especially by today's service of Thanksgiving up in Edinburgh, which was deeply moving to watch. Very, very beautifully done, beautiful choral music, extremely well rehearsed, and everything seemed perfect, just as it should be as a tribute for Her Majesty the Queen.
So tell me about the Gaelic element in that service. Why is that so important?
Well, there was that Gaelic rendition by a popular folk singer of one of the psalms. And actually, that was very interesting because Gaelic is a language, of course, associated with Scotland, but it's a language that was almost hounded into extinction over the years, over hundreds of years, partly by English monarchs and also by the government. There was even an education minister at one point, I think a couple of hundred years back, or maybe a bit more, who said that the people that used the language in schools would be prevented from developing to civilized positions instead of savagery. So this is a language that really has been attacked, but of course it's a language that's very important to the region and to Scotland. So I think it was really important that it was reflected there in that way in the ceremony, and it showed the Queen's very, very strong connections to Scotland and respect for the Scots.
And tell me about King Charles. How is he settling in? Can you glean anything about what kind of king he'll be in this short amount of time the theoretical crown has been on his head?
Well, first thing, actually, I've been thinking he must be exhausted, because losing a parent, as any viewer who's been through that will know, is already quite grueling. The grief is exhausting and tiring and very difficult to go through. And he's not just lost a parent, he's also taking on this massive responsibility of becoming the monarch. And he's not very young. He's nearly 74 years old himself. That's an age when many of us might be forgiven for trying to wind down. We might have even entered retirement rather than taking on the biggest job of our lives. So I think that King Charles has actually been doing admirably. He's presented himself very well at all of the various different events he's going through. There's plenty more to come for him, and that's because the job is important symbolically. So he needs to show that he's meeting the Prime Minister, meeting the First Minister in Scotland, meeting parliaments. Today he had a meeting in Westminster Hall, which was the combined House of Commons and House of Lords all together there. They addressed him, he addressed them. Then he went up to Edinburgh. He went to the Scottish Parliament. There was a similar process there. He made a speech there as well. We've seen him also in that Thanksgiving service in the cathedral in Edinburgh, and plenty more besides. So this is grueling for him, and I think it shows that he has got that energy despite his age. And so far, all the opportunities he's had to speak about his mother and himself taking on this role, well, people say he's done that perfectly. He seems committed to the same level of service and commitment to service as she was, yes, and also to keeping himself independent of politics.
And that is the universal tribute that people within and outside of her family have made to her, was that incredible life of service that he now has to live up to. So tell me about the military uniforms. I know that Princes Andrew and Harry have not been allowed to wear their uniforms. Prince Andrew will get to at the actual funeral at Westminster Abbey. Why won't Harry be able to wear his military dress?
So Harry and Andrew, Princes Harry and Andrew, are no longer working members of the royal family for different reasons. And Prince Harry decided to leave, and to leave the working royal family, and to leave the UK, in fact. And Prince Andrew, as a result of the controversies that he was engulfed in. And as a consequence, neither of them is being granted the right to wear military uniforms during these proceedings, except for Prince Andrew, who's being granted a one-off exception, not actually at the funeral, I think, but during the Vigil of Princes, which is when they will stand guard around her coffin during the time it's in Westminster Hall. Actually, it's quite interesting that neither of those two are allowed to wear their uniforms, because those two are actually members of the royal family who served in active service in the armed forces. So it's particularly notable that they'll be the ones who aren't wearing their uniforms, though they will be allowed to wear their medals.
Yes, and I understand that Prince William is going to be in chainmail, which I think will be very interesting. I'm just kidding. Jonathan, thank you so much for the update. We appreciate it, and we'll be checking in throughout the week. Thank you. Okay, bye.